So I appreciate you guys coming and taking the time to talk with me today about your son. And I know you shared aspects of the story and journey and some of the difficulties you all had in the process. And I'd like to ask you all a couple of challenging questions that I think a lot of parents in a situation similar to yours may need answers to, or your answers could be helpful. So I want to start with a little bit after getting the news from the police, after putting in the police report. I want to know, after those days following that, when they finally did take the report, what was it like for you? How did you all cope with that time period of just not knowing? You're shaking your head. What's going on?
We couldn't. I mean, it was unbelievable. Is this really happening? The last thing that, in my mind, I thought that somebody maybe he's just went somewhere. He got mad or whatever, and he's with his partners or whatever, but for somebody to actually just take him and then to find out later, possibly kill it, it was just surreal. And still to this day, it's still like, it's a bad dream or something, but not to see him come through that door or in that car, either, we talking on the telephone or texting each other, it's still unbelievable, but, like I say, it happened to other people, so I'm not no better than nobody else, and God had a plan, so we dealt with it, and, we grieved, we cried, we hurt, had a lot of pain, it's a loss, and, it's just something that you wouldn't wish on nobody, to lose a child like this,
So what about for you, Annie? What was those next few days like when you were waiting on him to come home? Were there a lot of tears? Were you all talking? Like, how did you all as a family interact with?
It was just like I could feel a detachment from my womb. I don't know how to really explain that, but that's what it was feeling like to me. And I was trying not to show my emotionally and really how I was feeling again, because I was helping others.
It leaves you feeling really helpless. That's the feeling that comes to mind. As a parent, you want to do everything for your kids. You want to fix it. You want to be there. You want to make sure. And not knowing where he is, it had to have been, and having to follow the police. You don't know where to start. They're trained for this, and feeling like they're not being as supportive. It's a very helpless feeling.
He didn't have a chronic disease. He wasn't killed in an accident. Somebody made a conscious decision to take his life. And like I said before, we as black people's got to be bigger than that, better than that. They didn't try to help him. They killed him, took his life. He had a family. He had a mother and father who cared about him dearly, 2 sisters. He wasn't no thug. He was doing something meaningful with his life. And his mother and I was setting good examples. We was doing everything that a parent should do. He was raised with Southern values that said, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
There are 2 types of ambiguous loss. Type 1 is when a person is physically gone, but psychologically present. This is the case with the Collins family. They don't know where their son is physically, but psychologically they feel his presence. They talk about him, he's in their everyday thoughts. Other examples is divorce or adoption, or even immigration experiences cause families to experience this type 1 type of ambiguous loss. Type 2 is when the person is physically present, but psychologically absent. So because there's some type of emotional and cognitive disconnect. And this could be the case if a person has severe mental illness and or other medical issues such as dementia or Alzheimer's, where an individual physically is there, but psychologically they're present. Family members go through that exact same grief and loss process when this is the case. And it's both cases, type 1 and type 2, are extremely complicated grief process. Definitely a journey, definitely healing can happen, but it does complicate things, and it's very different than, say, someone who's lost someone through the natural grief process of old age. And that's not to compare one being worse or better than the other. We're simply saying the experience is different.
Probably 10, 15 years ago, I'd probably be in jail now, because whoever did this, whoever I thought did it, I probably went out there and tried to do something to them, but God said, let me handle that. I'll fight your battles. You just be patient and be still. And that's what we done. And we didn't get better. We have grown. We're stronger. We miss our son. My girls miss their brother, but we're better. We're in a better place. And like I said, secret things are with God, and we're going to continue to believe in that. He's going to take care of us, and that's what he's done so.
There were still moments to swear, okay, where are you, God? You know where he is. Will you let us know, why did this happen? You know, did I fall out with God? No, I did not fall out with him. Did I have questions? Yes. I've heard people say, oh, you're not supposed to question God, but the Bible says to ask. Ask and you shall receive. So I asked. Did I receive the answers that I want? You know, I believe that we would see our son again, you know, and it didn't turn out like that, you know. But because of all that we have went through and with the help that we have had, you know, that has brought us to this place where we are now, you know. But I saw myself in a straitjacket. I don't know if I ever shared that with you. I saw myself. And I had to jump up from that bed and I said, no, devil, you're not taking me out like this. I said, I have a husband. I have 2 daughters that still need me. And I said, we have to get the answers together, what happened to our son. You know, it was really devastating what we was going through and wasn't getting the help that we should have been getting from the law because we were citizens. We did what we were supposed to do to report our son being missing, and the feedback we was getting, why would they do us like that? And all these other people that was going missing at the same time that my son went missing, there was a young lady. She went missing Valentine's Day, which was a Saturday in the year 2015. And the last time we saw our son was Sunday, February the 15th, 2015. And that was 5-day span in between that we really knew something had happened to him. But she was on the 14th. The 16th of February, hers was on the news. At that time, we didn't know anything had happened to our son. But once we did, and once we started working, that was in February, it was March the 20th something, before our son got on the news about him being missing, a whole month later. Why it had to be that long, I still to this day don't understand. Because so many people were being missing, and every day it was on the news, and I was like, how is this happening? And we have reported. They told us what to do, and we did everything they told us to do, but nothing came of it.
What about for you, you know, as the man of the house, and you have all your girls here? I'm wondering what that was like for you.
Well, you know, they said a man's supposed to be strong, but sometimes that strength you put up, you know, it get a little wavery too. You know, when it first happened, like I said, I was still in such disbelief that this is going on. I just couldn't fathom who would want to do something like that. You know, I lost my appetite. I just was sitting in the room, you know, but, you know, I was still trying to put on that strength for my family, you know. But, you know, there was a lot of tears. I didn't let them see me cry, but, you know, tears was there. My heart was hurting. He's my only son. He's named after me. I had a lot of big plans for him. That's why I brought him to California. I wanted him to have the opportunities that I didn't have. I wanted a better life. Then sometime, you know, in retrospect, I look back on that, said, did I do the right thing? Maybe if I hadn't came out here, he'd be still living today. But, you know, God only knows best, you know. You know, he had a plan anyway, but, you know.
Well, part of what you're talking about is what a lot of individuals go through when we lose someone. It's kind of you go back and replay in your head what you could have done differently. Even when someone's sick in the hospital, well, I wonder if I should have asked the doctor one more question, or I wonder if I shouldn't have let them eat it. So that's kind of because as human beings, we naturally want to find a reason.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When some things in life, like you say, it's only God knows, and
only
there is
God
no
knows,
real tangible reason. And even if there was, you know, the likelihood that we would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, when it comes to those that we love and truly care about, you know, those parts of our hearts.
Absolutely.
It makes it really difficult. But it also brings another point, especially I feel like in, I'm not gonna say just African American communities of color, that feeling like you have to be the strong one.
Yes.
That feeling like you can't allow people to see you break. And I think we have to find because when I think of strength, I think of what everything that you all have been through, you know,
Yeah,
being able to stay
yeah.
as a family unit together, because there are a lot of families that
Yes,
separate
yes.
and go different ways after things like this happen. But being vulnerable takes a lot of strength. And so finding that balance between, okay, how do I hold it enough together, you know, that I can continue being there and present for my kids, but also showing a certain amount of vulnerability, because the opposite end that I think we don't think about, you know, as parents, as older siblings, things of that nature, is when our people looking up to us, whether it be a younger child or sibling or whatnot, never see you cry, they start to question what's wrong with them. All right, what's wrong with me? Mom and dad have it together. Everyone else sees it, but everybody's suffering in silence.
Yeah, yes.
Everyone's crying in the shower so no
So
one can hear
true.
them, right? Everyone's crying at night when everyone's asleep. But no, we don't share that vulnerability. So I really appreciate you all even sharing some of the things that you went through with, you know, coping, saying that we cried, I stopped eating, because that is
Absolutely.
what people are really, really going through, but no one talks about that. No one talks about that part. And so you have all these people grieving as a collective, but then also grieving separately, questioning what's wrong with them, because we always have to have this strong face put on. But trying to find that balance is hard.
I think controversy and setbacks in life, it's either going to make you or break you. And if you have faith in God, believe in His Word, you'll come through. And truly, that is so true, because we're truly examples of that. Absolutely.
So what do you think it is, in addition to using prayer and, you know, the church and your church community as one of the things to be helpful for you guys to get through this difficult, what do you think you all were able to provide to each other? Because as we stated earlier, there are a lot of couples, families that go all their separate ways. What do you think you all were able to do for one another, for yourself, that kept you all's marriage intact?
Well, as for me, in the moment, it was kind of hard to figure out what that was, because, again, as I said, I tried to be strong to keep my husband and my girls together. And it's, at some point, you have to be able to talk about it, because it was at a point that I wasn't really able to talk about it, even not with my husband, about how I was feeling, as well as him on how he was feeling. I know at one point he came to me to let me know that, you know, he's trying to be strong. He know he's the man and he's the father, but it's just as hard for him as it is for me. Because a lot of times when things happen like this, and we notice that with the media with us, they always wanted to talk to me. They always wanted to mom to come out front. And I would tell them, you know, my husband is going through the same thing that I am. And I know a lot of times maybe the mother and the father's not together, the father's not in the picture, but that wasn't my case. My husband has always been there, you know, with all of our children from the beginning. So we were trying to just to see what one another was feeling, as well as our daughters. I still do that with my daughters now. From time to time, I ask them how they feel, how they've been thinking about their brother, you know, just to see where they are, because they're hurting still.
It's important to talk about
as
it.
well.
It's important.
Absolutely. You
For some reason, we think if we don't talk about it, it'll go away.
You've heard the Collins family talk several times about how much they've talked about grief when they were going through this process with their son Raymond. They spoke with each other, they checked in on their children. The conversation kept happening, and I can't stress to you how important it is to keep the conversation going as far as feelings. It's okay to express feelings. A lot of times family members, it becomes a taboo. It becomes a fear of, well, if I bring this person up, I'm scared I'm going to make someone sad, or I'm scared I'm going to upset someone and I don't want to upset them. So you have all these individuals in the same family, sometimes in the same house, all grieving, going through their sadness, and no one's talking about it. That can be very lonely. Research shows, and it's very helpful, especially if you have little ones in the home, to talk about how you're feeling. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to say you're sad. It's a part of the process. It's okay, and this is one feeling I think a lot of people don't like experiencing, especially if you're the extended family and you don't want your loved ones to feel sad. You know, we have a tendency want to rush people out of their grief. You know, try to do things to make them feel better so they won't feel it anymore, because we're uncomfortable and we feel helpless when we're trying to support them. So one thing to keep in mind is, if you're being the support system that family member or someone who had an immediate loss, It's okay to feel helpless, because I don't know if there's anything anyone can ever do to make a person feel better about someone they loved and cared for deeply no longer being here. You have to kind of just allow them to go through their grief process. And we have to tolerate, when we're on the support system side, our own feelings of helplessness. And that's okay too. It's okay to be sad that you can't help or support someone that you love and care for who is going through a traumatic event. So just make sure that you're talking, no matter what end of whether you're the support system or whether you want to talk about how you feel. As the friends say, you know what? I feel really helpless right now because I don't know what to say or do. Or even say, I don't know what to say or do in this situation, just know I'm here. And within your families, talk about it. No one is ever halted in their grieving process or not been able to heal because you're talking about the person who's no longer there. To have conversations about how you feel about that person, that's totally okay. And it actually helps the grief process move along, and it clears up any misunderstandings. Because if you have small children in the home and they've lost their father, their mother, their sister, their brother, and everyone seems happy and they don't get the chance to express it, they may think that something's wrong with them. It may cause some confusion with families. So give yourself permission to talk about how you feel. Feelings aren't right or wrong, they just are.